Hello everyone, it's Narelle here from Cricut Explore Maker and More Facebook group. Today I'm going to be assembling the pop-up gift bag card that I shared in the group as part of our Christmas in July event. So I have all my pieces here ready to go. The white strip and the little ornament shape, or the wreath shape, sorry, is for the belly band, so we'll use those later. And then these 2 or 3 pieces are for the front of the card. And the rest there at the top are all the pieces for the inside of the card. Now you'll see I've got 3 pieces that are similar in size. That one at the top middle is a little bit bigger than the others, and it's for the inside of the card, so don't get those pieces mixed up. Now this piece here is for the actual bag that goes in the inside of the card. Everything is a mountain fold except for those 2 that I indicated there that are going to be valley folds. So work out which side of the cardstock you want to be the outside of your bag, and then fold everything as a mountain fold except for those 2. So we've got that one there in the middle, and then another one on the end, which is also up the middle of 3 score lines. Then everything else, as I said, is going to be a mountain fold. And then once you've done that, the tab that's on that one end of the bag will be glued to the tab on the other side of the bag, and that will then give us our little folded up bag. Now you'll find there are 2 little holes on each side of this bag shape, and you're going to use those to add little handles to the bag. Now you don't have to use these if you don't want to. You could actually go and hide those little holes in the Design Space project if you don't want to add these handles. They are very small, so I'm using one of the Cricut weeding tools just to make that little hole a little bit bigger so that I can easily get that string through those holes. So you can make those as big or leave them as tiny as you want, or get rid of them altogether. So I'm just using some very cheap fabric ribbon that I bought from one of the cheap shops here in Australia a long time ago, and it's quite small but is perfect size for just making these little handles for this bag. Now this part of the project's a little bit fiddly because you've got to tie these things and make sure they don't come back through the hole before you get a chance to assemble it. And you can see that now I've just pulled that and it's come back through, so I'll just put that back through, and I'm just going to use some sticky tape and I'm just going to stick that to the inside of the bag there, and I'll repeat that as I go through and add the handles to the other side of the bag too. So now that I've attached the handles, I'm ready to close this little bag up. And I'm going to be using some liquid adhesive for this part, so I'm just going to put it on that little tab on the inside there. And what I'm actually using here is some smart glue from scrapbook.com. It's a very tiny bottle because I purchased just the smallest bottle they had so I could test it out, and I quite like this glue actually. It's a little bit more liquid than some of the other glues that I've used, but it still sticks really well, and it does give you some good wiggle room to get things sitting exactly right. So I'll put that on that tab, and then I just close that up and stick it to the other side of the bag. As I said, it's a little bit runnier, so you probably can get away with a little bit less glue than what I've used there. And then once you've got that tab there, just close that little bag up so that you can push that down and make sure that it's sticking just right. So there's my little bag there. You can see that that the two top pieces there, they're going to be pushed to the inside and they'll be stuck inside, and that will be the next thing that we'll do. But you can see that it's taken that shape of that little bag there. So for the inside, I'm going to use just the liquid glue. You could use tape for any of these pieces. You don't have to use liquid glue. But just for speed for the assembly video, then glue's the way to go for me. So just put it on each of those tabs and then fold them to the inside. Now you can see that on one side I've actually accidentally made the inside of that tab fold up a little bit, so just be careful as you're folding those inside the bag. I did make them a little bit smaller than the length of the bag, so you can just see there at the top left that I've accidentally got a little fold in there, so just be careful so that it sits nice and flat when you close it up. As I said, you could use tape if you wanted to, but for here I'm just using the glue. Right, so that's the bag ready to go on the inside of the card. So now what we'll do is we'll go and assemble the actual card itself. So here's all my pieces. So now the two white pieces you don't have to use, or you can use. If you want to write inside the card, write a message or something, you can use those, or you cannot use those. You can use one, or you could use both. You could use none. It's entirely up to you. So again, I'm just going to use that same glue and stick the two or the three pieces to the inside of my card base. And you can see that at this point I've realised that I've forgotten to actually fold on my score lines, so it's easy enough to still do that with that piece on there. So there are only two score lines and they're both going to be valley folds, so I'll go ahead and I'll do those. And then I can go ahead and finish putting those layers inside the card. So I'm just checking that I made sure that I've got the right piece on the middle there. And as I said, this piece here is a little bit wider than the other pieces. I think it's about 4 or so inches, whereas the others are less than 4. So just make sure you're putting the right piece in there. And obviously if you wanted to, you could go and change the layers to different colours, so that you could say use different patterns on the front of your card that you have on the inside. It's entirely up to you. So now that I've done the inside, I'm going to go and add my pieces to the front of the card. So you can see that I've got these two pieces that are going to layer, and that will go on the smaller section, and then this piece that's going on the larger section. Now there's nothing there for the back, but as it's just the back of the card, it's not really necessary to put anything there, but you could certainly go and duplicate one of the other pieces if you wanted to add another rectangle to that part of the back part of the card. So there's my card base basically completed. So now what I need to do is attach the little bag to the inside of the card. So I'm just going to use my bone folder and just make sure those score lines or those fold lines are nicely folded. And then I'm going to, in this case, I'm going to actually use some tape on these two little pieces of the bag to attach that to the inside of the card. So make sure it's folded nice and straight, and then I'm just using, I think this is a 1/2 inch piece of double-sided adhesive, and I'm going to put that on both of those tabs. And then once I've made sure that that's stuck down nicely, I'm going to remove one of the cover sheets from the tape, and then I'm going to put that piece so that it's facing upwards, and I'm going to put it right on that score line. So it's actually going to fold right on that score line, and then I'll fold that card piece down and then burnish that with my bone folder, and that is now stuck in the correct position. Then I'll take off the other piece of the protective sheet, and I'm going to fold that again, making sure that it's sitting nice and flush, and then again burnish that there on the back. And then when you open up the card, the bag pops open, ready to put, say, a gift card or something small in there. Now you don't want to put anything too bulky in this because the card won't fold flat if you do, but card or cash, whatever you want to put in there works. So again, there's my two pieces that can now be added to the inside of the card if you so wish. So now that's basically the card done. All I need to do is go and do the belly band, and that's just going to help hold that card shut. So the piece that I've used here, I've actually just used an embossing folder, and I've put that through and embossed that piece, but you don't need to. It's a Christmas embossing folder that I've had in my stash for a long time, and it was only a 4x6 folder, so I put the belly band in one way and embossed, and then I took that out and then put it in the other way and embossed the other end. So you can either, when you put this together, you can either glue these and have the glued part at the back of the card, or you can use the glued part and put that at the front of the card and then put your little wreath piece over the top of that to hide the join. In hindsight, that's the way that I should have done, but I went the other way and I put the fold or the glued piece at the back of the card. I think it looks nicer the other way, but that's what I've done, so I just went with it. I'm just going to then slide that onto the card just to make sure that it fits well. So you don't want to glue this so that it's too tight. You want it to be able to slide onto the card easily but not slip off, obviously. So now that you've done that, I'm going to use some 3D tape here just to bring that little wreath shape up a little bit higher, give it a bit more dimension. Now this tape is great, but the red part of it is so hard to get off, as you will now see. So now I'm just going to put that onto the belly band, and you can put that to the left, to the right, to the middle, wherever you like. It really depends on what you've used on that other piece on the right hand side. If you don't want to cover any of it, then kind of move that to the left. And I'm just using an adhesive remover just to clean up some of that dried glue that was on there. And that is the card done. So hopefully you enjoyed that. You'll find the Design Space project link for this project in the Cricut Explore Maker and More Facebook group, along with lots of other Christmas in July projects. So if you could give this a thumbs up, that would be great, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.